Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are watching the Paris Fintech Forum Community video interview series. I'm Elliott Gotkine, and today I'm joined by the Chief Innovation Officer at Societe Generale, Claire Calmejane. Great to have you with us again.
Hi, Elliott. Hi, everyone.
All right, so before we get cracking, let's learn a little bit more about Societe Generale. So, Claire, I think most people watching will, of course, know SocGen as one of France's biggest banks. Perhaps you can give us a sense of the scale of Societe Generale, both nationally and internationally?
Sure. So Societe Generale have three main line of business. The first one is retail banking, and we have about 7 retail banks in the world, in France, in Czech Republic, in Romania, but also in Africa, where we have different banks. We then have the investment banking business, which is very present in the US, in Asia, and in Europe, where we are leader in derivatives. And then we have the mobility pillar, where at the beginning of last year, we've made an acquisition called LeasePlan for 5 billion to create the worldwide leader in B2B leasing. So Societe Generale is about 130,000 colleagues across the world in 62 countries.
Silicon Valley Bank dealt pretty much exclusively with tech companies. Societe Generale also deals with startups, be it as partners, vendors, or as companies to invest in or acquire. Most of the buzz this year would appear to be in the artificial intelligence AI space. Is this what's getting you most excited at SocGen as the Chief Innovation Officer? And what are the potential use cases for SocGen?
I think you refer to ChatGPT and generative AI that definitely have made the next step. I often say, in digital and data, banks are at the same time, they started their IT journey about 30 years ago. And maybe to some extent, they are not leaping forward generation. So, it goes step by step. And for us, in our 2025 roadmap, we are planning 40% digital sales across our retail business, starting from about 7%, 2 years ago. And that's one of the major steps. And that's enabled through basic AI on the day-to-day servicing and banking. So we also have about 68% of our customer base out of the 22 million that are using digital daily. And some of the AI use cases you will see are, for example, predicting their overdraft in order to focus on the most vulnerable customers, or use cases that are more advanced to increase cross-sell and digital sales in the product to meet better the customer needs. So what I mean by that is, we remain very basic in our journey, even if we are obviously watching very closely what can with the use case that could be done with ChatGPT or generative AI that are for us in the future. When you're asking about what we are excited about at Societe Generale, the reality is we are also very pragmatic in our investment and in the journey. So for us, there are in innovation 2 main business areas where we focus on. The first one is Bank as a Service, and we made the acquisition of Trésor back 4 years ago, which provide all the infrastructure for neobanks, but also for corporates in CardUp, PayUp, and Bank in a Box, but also all our crypto strategy. And 4 years ago, in the entrepreneurship program, we created a platform to do emission on security token called SG Forge. And Forge now is one of the worldwide leader in this activity and provide custody services. And obviously, this goes further into the strategy on digital assets within the bank. And that's one of the main area, to clarify what are the business model, how can it be profitable for the bank, and what type of product do we want to offer.
Okay, so we've heard a bit about Societe Generale. Let's now get to know Claire a little bit better. So Claire, you're a software engineer by training. How does being Chief Innovation Officer at a big legacy bank compare?
Good question, Elliott. I have to say I've always worked in a lot of legacy banks or for legacy companies all my life. But at the same time, I supervised, I set up the venture fund in Societe Generale, and I supervise some of these ventures, such as Trésor that I mentioned earlier. So do I see, I think, being an IT engineer is a real difference. Today, I'm part of the management committee of Societe Generale, and having an outlook in technology is a strong advantage as part of our strategy. And I often say my work is to put my glasses in front of the glasses of the other executives, because they have all the knowledge of how a banks work, what are our main businesses. And for me, it's to build together this journey for our customers and for our colleagues. What I see in some of our startups from the younger talents in technology is, obviously, startups often have a strong technology background, but they have yet to fully harness the regulation, the customer needs, the type of product. Banking remains an industry where we are heavily regulated, and some of the financial products required the good understanding of the risk appetite that is set by the board and by the bank. So I think it's very important to have the T-shape in the future, so to have the technology leg, the finance leg, and a strong base of leadership, which is different. I think the type of leader we expect, I don't just think, I'm sure, the type of leader we expect in the future will have to be change agent, will have to be more open, will need to go in collaboration, in open innovation.
Okay. And over the past couple of years, of course, we've seen a pandemic, we've seen a war, we've seen soaring inflation and interest rates, we've seen banks collapsing. Do you find this disheartening to kind of see what's going on, or does it energize you and make you feel kind of invigorated because what you're doing, I guess, has an impact?
Well, I think in front of the challenges ahead of us, especially if we go further and think about climate change and different things, it's very hard to be energized. To be honest, I think there are very, very serious challenges in front of us that goes beyond the day-to-day innovation that teams can do, and that's one of our main focus is how to solve and put technology to the benefits of solving these big challenges. So Societe Generale have taken several engagement and actions toward climate change, be in going out of carbon financing by 2030, but also in the day-to-day, we are training. So all the executive team have been trained, but with all our colleagues, we are doing the climate workshops where you can identify at each of your level what can you do with reduce our consumption in our building of energy over this winter, but also put strong measures in the day-to-day. So it's really goes 360 from technology to the tiny habits to solve for the challenge that are ahead of us.
And if I can get you to tell us something non-banking or non-chief innovation officer related, when you're not on the job, and I'm sure it consumes the vast majority of your time, what do you get up to?
A couple of things. The first one is for a couple of years, I've been very engaged in women empowerment, women in technology. I created a competition as part of Societe Generale to promote a woman setting up their startup and to give them visibility through the 15 Tech Challenge with Vivatech, which is happening in June each year. And I decided to go further and to do investment as part of a business angel fund called Leia Capital, where we invest in women-led businesses on a very early stage. And for me, to some extent, Elliott, it's been very energizing to work with 29 other women, which are in top executive position in France and in the UK, but also to go back to the roots and work with early stage funder in what are your challenges to raise, how do you push very early a product is through the door in customer adoption. And I'm always amazed because in the bank sometimes it takes so long to do a project or to deliver something because of the scale, the impact, the regulation, and you see these very early stage startups where in 6 weeks they have a product rocking and hitting the market to deliver innovation. So for me, it's always a refresher, going back to the roots of what can we do better.
Okay, so a key part of this interview, Claire, is to get your take on the future of finance. But first, we are going to take a very quick break, after which we're going to continue our conversation with the Chief Innovation Officer of Societe Generale, Claire Calmejane. Welcome back, and don't forget, if you're not already a full member of our community, everything you need to join can be found at www.parisfintechforum.com. And now, Claire, let's talk about the future of finance. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, the rescue of Credit Suisse. Does this have any impact on the outlook for legacy banks and neobanks in Europe? I guess on the one hand, people might want to put their money where they think that it's safer, perhaps with a systemically important bank. But on the other, we've seen from the Federal Reserve that no one's ever going to lose any deposits, so you might as well leave them with a neobank. So I'm just wondering if there's any kind of impact in that respect.
Well, I think it's a take on it, Elliott, that you are having, which is quite negative. For me, events are going around us, but what is important is the system is very resilient, and that's what we are seeing. Financial services, be retail banking, investment banking, or again mobility, anyway, is evolving. And it has been evolving. As I was mentioning, in the strategy of Societe Generale, we are committed to 40% digital sales. We have 68% digital customer adoption. We have an online brand called Boursorama in France, where we have about 5 million customers now, which is one of the worldwide leader. So for us, we don't make I was talking about Trésor, which provide infrastructure for most of the neobanks. So for us, there is not neobanks and banks. For us, there is just a continuum of activities that are benefiting the customer and answering customer needs in a very resilient system. And at the heart of that are two areas. One is the digitalization of our services, but more than that is what else can we offer to the customer? So more and more data products, respecting, in Europe, GDPR regulation or others. And on the other hand, ESG and CSR, we are talking about the climate change and other areas which are in front of us, and how do we deliver products that respect and answer more and more the customer needs, where they want to know what their deposits are for, where are they invested, are we representing their ethos and delivering this real economy and serving this real economy to build a more sustainable future. In SocGen, we worked about 3-4 years ago to define our North Star, which is about building with our clients a more sustainable and a more sustainable world by providing innovative financial solutions. So that's embedded in what each colleagues in Societe Generale get up to each morning. In the mobility segment, I was talking because that's also interesting when we look at the future of financial services. there are a lot to be done. So, the business of Societe Generale is B2B leasing, so it's provide cars fleet, but more and more we are going to all type of mobilities, including electric scooter, taking the tube when it's needed, electric cars and vehicles. So we are working with Tesla and Polestar in Europe. We are one of the biggest fleet that distribute that, and of course, with such a massive business between ALD and this plan that we bought for 5 billion, you can foresee that we will have a major role to play in the day-to-day mobility and carbon emission and reduction of each company, and that are very hard challenges to crack. And in the CIB business, I was talking about the tokenization of the economy and the Web3 economy, and we are seeing that traditional assets such as bonds are digitalized, and progressively part of the economy is tokenized, where some asset manager like Fidelity are positioning themselves. But more and more, your economy and illiquid assets such as real estate or different things could be tokenized as well. So when you go to this type of area, you have to redefine your chain from primary market to post-trade to really see how this is going to materialize and which actors are doing that. So it's a little bit like the payment area 15 years ago, where progressively we've seen WeChat, e-commerce payment gateways such as Adyen or equivalent in Asia or in US that have emerged. But in the crypto field and digital assets, and I'm not talking here about Bitcoin or Ethereum or cryptocurrency, which we are not dealing with. I'm really talking about the tokenization of the current economy. There is much work to be done. So for me, that's the three areas where we focus on in the future of finance.
Okay, well, I'm glad you mentioned crypto, because I guess the seeds of the crisis we saw earlier in this year kind of began with the collapse of crypto banks and platforms like FTX and Silvergate. Where is crypto now? And again, I know you're not talking about Bitcoin or predicting prices or anything there, but in terms of tokenization, in terms of, I know, CBDCs or other areas of crypto that people perhaps hoped would, take us forward in terms of technology and in terms of payments and other things like that. Where is crypto now, and how much has the kind of current crypto winter set the industry back?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question because post FTX, we've seen obviously the US taking a strong position in regulation, and they a couple of recently State Street announced that they are disengaging themselves from the Copper Partnership. BNY Mellon is disengaging themselves from the Fireblocks partnership. So clearly, my take on it was that where we had made a little advance, again in the more institutional part of the business, there was clearly a setback set from the US. But what's happening is APAC is continuing to go strong on the field. And Europe is, tightening some of the area around. For example, in France, you have to ask for your PESAN license each time and everything. But with the MiCA regulation coming our way, I think it's a little bit clearer. How can we continue to operate again from an institutional point of view about it? There will be a lot of lessons learned from FTX. And from SVB in terms of exposition, the way we manage this type of assets. For me, after it's always been a long play, which I mean by that is it's never been a product where you can understand in 2 to 3 years, like digital, what is the business model of it. Like payment, it's going to take 10, 15 years. There could be some strong driver to accelerate adoption, such as a CBDC. But so far in Europe, the ECB have more positioned themselves toward, CBDC on 2025 on their early, position when they were talking about it. So it's still a little bit far away.
Okay, and I read, I think this was an interview with you last year, that the likes of Stripe and Facebook were actively trying to poach your staff. Now that tech companies have been laying staff off in their thousands, is the shoe on the other foot? Is finding the right talent now much easier for you?
It's a good question. The readjustment of the tech segment have obviously, we've observed some layoff, but mostly in the US. In Europe, it's been much more quieter in the sense that there was, major raise rounds that were done before the readjustment, and therefore it's not very clear or public, if they are making some changes. So I think in Europe, it's probably in front of us. The main ones that have gone out in the market are Stripe, where they raise half of their valuation, and Klarna, where again, I think it's about 1/3 of the evaluation, even a little bit less in the last round, which meant that probably they managed to retain part of their talent. I think challenges around good talents are still very present. Again, in Societe Generale, we set up SG Ventures where we have Shine, Trésor, Rizocar. So through these ventures, we acquired, technology first-minded talents. The strategy in IT of Societe Generale is very ambitious, so we still acquired a lot of infrastructure, cloud-based talent, because we want the ownership of our cloud strategy, and we didn't give it to someone else, to manage for us. Let's not forget also that from all time, Societe Generale had a wealth of talent. We are some of the leader in investment banking and capital markets, which means that when we launched a data program or data transformation, there is a lot of quant and data-minded talents which are there. So for me, it's more than acquiring talents that are yes, there is less tension in the market from other poaching talent in Societe Generale, but the challenge in large corporate like Societe Generale is always, we have a wealth and breadth of talents. How do we retrain, reskill, and put the right person in the right job for the development of the company?
Okay, so Claire, time now for our round of rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I've got 90 seconds on my clock. One word answers is all we're after, and away we go. What fintech segment has the biggest potential over the next 5 years?
Bank as a service.
What is the biggest pain point in your everyday financial life that you would like to see resolved?
Investment in technology startups.
Are we at the beginning, middle, or end of the fintech wave?
Or still at the beginning?
Do you have a metaverse strategy?
We do have a metaverse position paper in Societe Generale.
Have EU and US regulators kept pace with all the new possibilities in the financial industry?
Can you repeat that, Elliott?
Have regulators in the EU and the United States kept pace with all the new possibilities in the financial industry?
The job of the regulator for me is to protect the customers.
Yes or no, Claire? Sorry.
Broadly, yes.
Okay.
What can I
How would you describe NFTs? A scam, B, an interesting concept, or C, part of the future that we really don't want to miss out on?
Part of the future we don't want to be missed out on.
Okay. Have you personally ever invested in crypto?
As a chief innovation officer, I found it important to try everything we are talking about.
So that's a yes. Okay. Are physical points of sales part of the future of finance?
That's a yes, but again, we are not recommending this type of investment.
Sure. Are physical points of sales part of the future of finance?
Can you repeat this one, Elliott? Sorry.
Physical points of sales, are they part of the future of finance?
Our physical point of sales are definitely part of the future of finance.
Okay, lovely. I'm afraid we're out of time for our rapid fire round and for our conversation. So I really just want to thank you, Societe Generale Chief Innovation Officer Claire Calmejane, for joining me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elliott. Thanks, everyone.
And for everyone watching, we will be back again next week with another big name from the world of finance and technology. We do hope you'll be able to join us again then. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the Paris Fintech Forum YouTube channel and to follow us on Twitter @Paris Fin Forum. That's all for now. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.